Kohberger made some incorrect assumptions about his own phone when he turned his device off at 2:47 a.m. on the night of the crime. And clearly some people that have watched my two previous videos have had the same incorrect assumptions. But I'll demonstrate in this video that in April 2023, after the digital forensic consultants finished their work, the prosecution likely knew that Mr. Kohberger was at or near the crime scene, and why 4:17 a.m. is most likely the exact time that placed Mr. Kohberger at that crime scene. As always, even though my background's in mobile investigations, I'm not asking you to believe me about what I'm saying. I'm asking you to believe the phone manufacturer. For those that didn't watch the first two videos, the feature that I'm discussing is called Smart Things Find, which from 2020 to 2024 covered the series and type of phones that Mr. Kohberger carried. Smart Things Find is a feature that allows phones to transmit their location if they're lost. Let's look at a new set of receipts demonstrating that the Smart Thing Find feature activates 30 minutes after a phone is turned off. Here's what the manufacturer states in a November 26, 2020 SmartThings blog post. What if your device loses its battery power or is in a location where there is no service like a basement? With SmartThings Find, offline no longer means offline. SmartThings users now have the option to use their device to securely locate an offline one. When a device has been offline, either dead or in a dead zone for 30 minutes, a Bluetooth low energy signal or BLE signal is released that can then be found by other devices as well. Either dead or in a dead zone for 30 minutes. If they don't mean powered off, what could they mean? That can't mean that the Wi-Fi was off in this context. Also note that I'm a new channel and can't post links in the description yet, so here's an actual link to the blog post. The internet has a number of incorrect assumptions about how this feature actually works. The biggest incorrect assumption is that the feature sends a locator beacon that can be found by similar devices right at the moment that the device is turned off. I'll show you why the real phone behavior behind this feature is ultimately prejudicial to Mr. Kohberger's defense. Another key point is, if the phone is unsuccessful in making a connection with another phone to report its location, wouldn't a reasonable assumption be that it continues to beacon every 30 minutes thereafter until a phone beacon is actually captured by another similar device and the powered off phone GPS coordinates can be sent by that other device? Think about it. The service is designed to locate the phone. We have to believe that it keeps trying until it's successful or until the battery dies. This behavior is hard for some people to believe. One creator even cut and pasted a search engine AI response to prove that my first two videos were factually incorrect. Part of the problem is that the manufacturer has used 3 different but very similar sounding names for the Smart Things Find feature over the years. And each of those features has different capabilities. I'm not surprised at all that the search engine AI is confused. Let's go back to Mr. Kohberger and look at what that 30 minutes means for his defense. He turned off his phone at 2:47 a.m. There's no question about that. The prosecution says that he was in Pullman, and some creators will say that he was on his way to Huawei Park. The first place that we can examine is where Mr. Kohberger's phone may have been 30 minutes after shutting it off. That would mean 3:17 a.m. When we corroborate other evidence that says at 3:29 a car without fog lights that the FBI says was Mr. Kohberger's was at South Main Street in Moscow, this means that 12 minutes before that sighting, or at 3:17 a.m., the offline find beacon would have placed Mr. Kohberger on Highway 270. Highway 270 has no known cameras. His phone was offline, so there's no cast data that can place him there. The worst case for the prosecution is that we assume that the Smart Things Find feature of his phone connected with another device and only beaconed once. The GPS location would be prejudicial to Mr. Kohberger as it would place him traveling east on Highway 270. Mr. Kohberger's defense said he never traveled east on 270. There are a multitude of reasons to believe that the beacon was not captured by another phone at 3:17 a.m. The beacon range tops out at 300 feet, and Mr. Kohberger would have been driving in his car at least at the speed limit. It was also 3 in the morning and there wouldn't have been much traffic. My understanding is that there also aren't very many houses along that stretch of road either. The probability of Mr. Kohberger's phone pinging at the exact moment that a similar device is nearby? Slim to none. So a reasonable assumption in the absence of any detailed public manufacturer documentation about SmartThings Find is that the phone waited another 30 minutes and pinged again. You'll also see in a minute why this is a very compelling assumption. So 30 minutes after 3:17 would have been 3:47 a.m. According to the prosecution, Mr. Kohberger's car was driving around the King Road neighborhood from 3:29 until 4:04. 3:47 is smack dab in the middle of that time frame. He was still driving. While the speeds would have been slower in the city of Moscow, it's reasonable that a car in motion has less chance of contacting another similar device at the moment of the beacon. But even if it did, again, the worst case for the prosecution is now they would have the phone's final GPS location as being in the King Road neighborhood at 3:47 a.m., which would be even more prejudicial to Mr. Kohberger's defense. There's still even more compelling evidence of why the beacon wasn't captured. Most importantly is Bill Thompson's statement at the plea hearing.
And the state's evidence showed that defendant's car came back and parked behind and above the 1122 King Road residence.
Bill Thompson didn't say that they could place Mr. Kohberger in the neighborhood. So where would the phone have been 30 minutes after 3:47 a.m.? The time would have been 4:17 a.m. The prosecution says that the crime occurred between 4:04 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. The phone was most likely stationary in Mr. Kohberger's car with other phones within the 300 feet needed to capture the beacon. Even if he brought it with him to the crime scene and didn't leave it in his car, the phone would have still beaconed and been captured by a similar phone inside the house or in a neighboring house within 300 feet. So not only have people seemed to assume that the phone sends its final location as the device is being powered off, but also that Mr. Gonzalez's mention of Brian Kohberger's phone touching a Wi-Fi connection, the time when the Wi-Fi connection was likely made was 4:17 a.m.
Yeah, and close enough that he was touching their Wi-Fi, that his phone was touching their Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Mr. Kohberger simply chose the most inopportune time to power off his device because he didn't understand how it worked. I believe that not only did the phone beacon at the crime scene, but that beacon was captured by another device and the location sent to the manufacturer. I've laid out a scenario where there were 3 beacons. If there were indeed 3 beacons from Mr. Kohberger's phone trying to establish the phone's final location through online find, the state would have been able to place Mr. Kohberger behind the 1122 King Road house as Bill Thompson states in the plea hearing. Game, set, match against Mr. Kohberger with only 2 defense counter-arguments available to him that I covered in my previous video. I believe what Digital Forensic Consult tested in April of 2023 wasn't that there was that final ping or beacon, but that if the connection was not successful, those additional pings occurred at 30-minute intervals.
Really went digging into, again, just finding any timestamp that was associated to this moment. And we found a couple files. One of the very fortunate things in this case was Heather had the exact phone model on the same carrier that BK had. So then we were able to do additional testing on these things and become confident in sort of the findings.
We won't know until the final digital forensic report is released, if it is ever. But let's say we only take what the manufacturer's documentation says that the SmartThings Find feature can do. And that means the phone only pinged once after being turned off, and that beacon was captured. Even if the phone never pinged again, the state could have easily still clearly established that Mr. Kohberger was traveling east on Highway 270, which would have contradicted his defense argument. If you like my videos and the way that I present them, please subscribe, comment, and give me a like. My next video will debunk the smartwatch theory that's been floating around the past few days, but the one after that will make an assertion, albeit with slightly weaker evidence, that Mr. Kohberger's phone could have actually had 2 beacons that were captured. Why would I say that? Detective Mowry in his hearing likely alludes to two separate locations that were external to the AT&T cast data. See you next time.